For those in the audience getting to know you here for the very first time, care to share where you were born?
Here, Georgia, Atlanta.
And care to share where you were raised as well?
Here.
And care
Georgia.
to share where you reside these days?
Georgia, Atlanta, Georgia.
So Atlanta, Georgia throughout. Now, when it comes to this raising in Atlanta, for you, did it get any more specific than that? Like, was it a particular portion of Atlanta you were raised in? Like maybe a majority of your time, bulk of your age?
Like the metro Atlanta area, like near there, like Duluth, the Duluth area.
And do you want to put a range on that you think you were in that location for?
All 20 years of my life.
And still to this very day. Now, what was that like, growing up in that area for you?
It was, I liked it and I appreciated it. It wasn't particularly difficult because my mom and I was blessed to have a mom and parents that always try to keep it together in terms of living situation and all that. So it wasn't necessarily difficult physically, but demographic wise, there are there are a lot of different. There's a mixture of people in that area. So there's a lot of Asian, Latinos, Black people. So not a lot of white people. So I guess it was good, but as I'm growing up, I'm seeing more. I'm seeing more white people, and I I sometimes I don't know. Sometimes I don't know how to act because I've grown up around people of color my whole life.
So would you say that's a bit of a culture shock for you, or that's something you're still getting acclimated to?
I'd say in certain areas, I don't have a problem with any race, but in certain areas, like when I went to LA for the first time, or when I went to Cali, or even DC, I saw or even some parts of Georgia, around UGA or Athens, I saw way more white people than I was used to, and so it can be a culture shock just because they come from different areas. People come from different areas, so.
And is that something you're still, what's the phrase, getting acclimated to at this point, or do you think you're there? You get it. You can be in it, around it, things of that nature. No issues, sort of thing.
I feel like I'm pretty okay. I'm pretty good, but I I will never take disrespect from people, and take that as you will. But I would never take disrespect from people. So sometimes when I'm in a large group of white people, it's they say things they probably shouldn't say. But yeah, I think I'm pretty used to everyone now.
Now, when it comes to those, and again, circumstances could be different for everybody, but when it comes to maybe someone in a similar description as you just presented, maybe, you know, they grew up around not a lot of Caucasian around them, but now they find themselves in locations where it's a lot more or more predominant. And that culture shock there that they might not be used to. Is there anything you want to say to those on getting over that hump, or maybe going through that a little bit faster or smoother than your own personal experience?
I'd say there are going to be differences. There are going to be differences, and everyone's be yourself, of course, and never pretend to be anything else. But just know there are going to be differences. There are going to be everywhere you go, anybody, not even just white people. There are going to be people that disrespect you sometimes, and people that just don't get you. And that's totally fine. No one's going to 100% understand you. but just make sure that you're doing what you can to be real and give grace where it's needed.
And do you find like it's a learning thing? There's people that may not, it could be a culture shock for them as well on their end. So they're getting to know who you are a little bit better, and maybe you're
Mm-hmm.
teaching them things that they were unaware of.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the things they've said to you that you may find unpleasing and things of that nature, you can understand why, but it's like a trade-off, for example. It's
Mm-hmm.
cultures learning from each other and bettering themselves and things
Mm-hmm.
of that nature.
Yeah, and like I feel like that's helpful as long as there's no disrespect, intentional disrespect.
Now, for you, growing up in that area as you described of Atlanta, what was the top point for you during your upbringing there? What was your highest point or most positive moment growing up in that environment for you?
Um, I appreciate every second of it. I'd say there's no peak because I'm at my highest right now. Everything's getting better day by day. And so, but I appreciate every moment of it, every aspect of it. The people I grew up around, the neighborhoods I grew up in, all that.
Would you consider music to be a top point for you at all during your upbringing?
Yes, yes.
And why or how did you get into music of all things back then?
I always loved music. My dad is a music lover, my biological dad. Um, and so wake up in the morning, he's getting ready, playing music, bumping music loud, you know? And I don't know, I just loved it. It makes you feel something. I feel like it's a language that isn't, it's not just like any other language. It's a language that makes you feel something like in your body physically. And I always loved it.
But it's one thing for someone to just listen to music, and there's
Mm-hmm.
another to get behind the scenes and create and cultivate
Mm-hmm.
music themselves. So, what got you over the hump from just being a listener
Mm-hmm.
to actually wanting to create?
Um,
What got you over the hump, so to speak?
I started like, when I started, I think I played piano, I was like 4. I played a couple little songs on the piano when I was like 4. And then orchestra and chorus and like just seeing how something is composed. And I just loved that. I loved picking apart a song and all the aspects of that. And then so that's why. And I didn't know that was something I could do just by myself. But that's when I discovered that in like when I was like 15, 16. And I was like, I can really make something, you know what I'm saying, by myself.
When it came to the piano, was that something given to you, for lack of a better phrase, forced upon, or was that something you were interested in and chose and your parents kind of supported?
When I was little, I think we just had a piano in our house, and my brother like would play it sometimes, just playing around, and I would play it with him.
And do you recall what type of music or genres your father was listening to that you would listen to at one point?
Hip hop, R&B, hip hop and R&B. His taste is really versatile, and I feel like that's where I get it from. That's where I get my versatility in making music is because I just grew up with everything, and so yeah.
And despite the versatility, were there prominent names or songs that you would hear over and over again when you first started honing in onto listening to this music that your father was playing?
Yeah, I grew up on a lot of like Kanye West, Beyonce, Andre 3000, um, Lil Wayne, Nicki Minaj, of course, Lauryn Hill, a lot of like even like David Bowie, Prince, even like just a lot of order.
So almost his eclecticness kind of spawned your eclecticness.
Hmm.
Now, what led this to a career path, a career choice from just merely being a hobby for you? Because you mentioned, okay, you can dissect a piano or some notes or maybe a song here. There's some that do music as a hobby. It's a form of getaway for them, but they don't let that become a career path, a career choice.
Hmm.
So what got you over the hump of that as well, so to speak?
I think in middle school, it was really middle school. My brother, that's when my brother blew up on social media. Would have been middle school, and that's what opened the door to all these different career paths I could do. And then I also saw like when I was younger, I would watch Doja Cat on live when I was like, say like 10, when I wasn't really supposed to be watching her, probably like 10, 9. And I would see her do it. And as I grew up, she grew up. And I saw, you know, the doors open for her. And I saw Moo and I saw So High and I saw all the appreciation she got for just being herself and being funny and you know what I'm saying? Like being herself, being real, making her art. And I was like, this is something I could really do. Her and my brother really inspired me.
Who put you onto Doja Cat?
Myself. I found her like I found her randomly, I think, on Instagram one day. And I just entered the live and I was like, oh, she's cool.
And you're on Instagram as well. You've mentioned it on another portion of questions, but just in case those are tuning into just this segment here in particular, care to share your Instagram once again?
I've been Coco Jamar on all platforms.
And when it comes to social media, would you say, just chronologically speaking, well, would you say it was music for you and then social media, or would you say it was social media and then music for you?
In the back of my head, always had music sitting there as something I was going to get to. But I always knew that platform was social media. I always knew to get there, I had to get the platform. And so I thought business wise, I was like, I got to get, people to look at me first.
And when it comes to your parents and social media, were your parents okay with you being on social media at the age you were when you started getting into it, or were they strict on that sort of thing, or?
I don't think they necessarily understood social media too much until my brother started making money off of it. And then they're like, oh, okay. But they still didn't really understand. And then when I first got in high school, when I first got like my first brand offer, that's when they were like, oh, okay, like you can make money off of this. And, you can make, you know what I'm saying? Make a living off of it.
Did you take that brand offer?
Yes.
Do you
I did.
recall who was that with?
It was with What Do You Meme? I think it's like a card game company.
Now, there is a debate on that when it comes to social media and it comes to kids and things of that nature. There are some that don't want kids to get involved in social media at all, and then there's some that are okay with it. Where do you stand on that at this point? I know you don't have any kids at this point. You're not a parent yourself, but let's say once upon a time or not once upon a time, let's say in the future you do become a parent. How would you feel about social media and kids and being that you had this own experience yourself?
I'd say just make sure that, as they grow up, monitor them appropriately and just make sure that they're being themselves and not somebody else that they see on the internet. Because I see that a lot, especially nowadays. Like I see like people being, I have a little brother and I see, sometimes I catch him like mirroring some things on social media and I'm like, just make sure you're being yourself, doing what you want to do and not what other people are doing.
And why that mentality for you? Why is that such a core value for you?
Because that's something I got caught up in when I was younger. I mean, I thought I was supposed to be a certain way and like talk a certain way and, make certain jokes and have certain humor. And maybe like, I just realized that I wasn't happy. Like, it just waste so much time being unhappy for a kid when you're supposed to be happy.
Now, on the opposite end of the spectrum here, what was the bottom point for you during your upbringing in Atlanta and your description of where you grew up in Atlanta? What was your lowest point or most negative moment growing up in that environment for you?
I feel like I was bullied a lot in school. And yeah, I was bullied a lot in school for my sexual orientation and just how proud I was of myself and just how out loud I was. So that was kind of a lingering low point. throughout my upbringing, but I always, I never really let that get me. You know what I'm saying? I didn't let that get me down like that.
On its worst instance, how bad did the bullying get for you?
Mm. There are a couple instances where I'm like, I would almost get into fights. I never ever got into a fight because I got a mouth. People don't like to hear my mouth, and people don't like to hear what I have to say and what. Because I'll read you. I'll, I'll read you. And so in middle school, early high school, I had a couple instances where, I'd get pushed around or like, I'm also very nice, like, at first, but if you try me, I'm gonna, I'm gonna push back. And I almost got into a couple fights, but they didn't want to fight me because they saw I could push back.
Now, was this bullying just merely in person, in real life, as they say, or did this also happen to you on social media?
Um,
Online bullying, online.
all, all everywhere. Yeah, everywhere.
Now, again, circumstances could be different for everyone. But how did you actually get through that? Because there are some that don't. There are news stories of kids that commit suicide over
Mm-hmm.
being bullied.
Mm-hmm. Everyone's different, and I feel like I was just, I was just, I don't know how to put it. I don't want to say blessed, but I just have that personality of like, I don't care. I don't, you're mad, but I really don't. You're bullying me, but that has nothing to do with me and everything to do with you. And I always grew up like that. Like, and I'd say that's to any kid that's being bullied, I'd be like, it's nothing to do with you. It's everything to do with the bullying. It's everything to do with the people talking shit about you.
And asking here, because, well, before I ask you this next question, was there a time when the bullying ceased, or that's something you just faced throughout your schooling years,
Throughout,
even to the very end of graduation?
yeah, to the very end.
Okay. The reason why I asked you that for context was to build up this next question was,
Mm-hmm.
there are some that fix the bullying situation by changing schools. They switch
Mm-hmm.
schools, um, move. Like there's
Mm-hmm.
some kids that are bullied maybe where they grew up, but they, for whatever reason, could be out of their control. Their parent has a job offer in a different city, different state, and that move got rid of the bullying. Or it could also be, you know, what's the word? I don't want to say money or finance, but maybe there was someone that was getting bullied in a school that was in the hood, and now they're in a private school and they're not facing bullying anymore because uh, the environment has changed, even though they are in the same city or same location, just the
Mm-hmm.
different school itself or type of school. And that's just a rough example there. But that's why asking you this question of how you got through it, or um, because some people, I've heard some of those answers before in the past.
Mm-hmm. Um,
So
I
you
feel like
didn't, sounds like you didn't change schools or anything. It was just something that,
you just got. I mean, me. I just, you just push through it. You're gonna face somebody that don't like you every day, and it's your job to just push past it.
and once again, circumstances could be different for everyone. As you mentioned before, everyone's situation is different. But for you, did you ever get the authorities involved in the sense of like your parents or guidance counselor or teachers, professionals to help you with bullying at all?
I I never really wanted to. Like I would. There's been instances where I would try to vent, and they would get themselves involved in a situation, but I never really wanted to. I mean, I never wanted to. My mom would ask me if I was getting bullied at school, and I'd be like, no, I had a good day at school. And sometimes it would be the worst day of my life, but because again, I just was like, I just got to push through it. I never really wanted to be like, he did this to me, like, and I feel like I kind of should have a little bit more, but you know, I
Now,
didn't.
go ahead. Didn't mean to cut you off.
Sorry, that's my fault, but I didn't. I kind of just dealt with it.
Now, mentally, has this been something you sought any professional help over since?
Mm, mm, mm.
Bullying, uh, reactions to your sexual orientation, things of that nature. It could be some other things that you didn't mention in this interview. I mean, this stuff could be the tip of the iceberg here. There could be some other experiences that you went through that were more traumatic than what you've shared with this platform so far. But have you ever received any sort of mental health professional?
No, I haven't.
And why not? Because some people do go that route, even after their schooling is done.
I feel like it could be helpful. I feel like it could be helpful. Even for me, I feel like it. If I went, it could probably be helpful. But like my mentality or just the way I grew up is that's money. That's money, and not everyone has that. Not everyone has the luxury of going to a professional to do that. So
So at this point, you never have, but you would be open to something that in the future, perhaps?
yeah, sure.
Just curious there. Now, winding down the questions here about your upbringing, how were you able to survive that upbringing zooming out? Not just with the bullying and things of that nature, but just Atlanta, period, because there are some who don't make it.
I stayed focused on my schooling, and I got involved in extracurriculars, like all that. I just stayed focused and tried to get myself involved. I feel like that's one of the biggest things. That's what I advocated for in high school is I would try to get younger kids involved because even in my school, because a lot of people would say that I grew up in a pretty good area, but it's still Atlanta. Like there's still stuff going on. So even in my school, there were people that would get involved in just dangerous stuff and just get caught up in stuff they shouldn't have been. And I feel like just staying focused and working towards something, anything, just help me.
Now, there are some people who say things like, don't know if I'll make it to see the age of 18.
Mm-hmm.
21, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have any of these thoughts yourself growing up where you did?
Yeah, but it wasn't necessarily because of the area or the things I was doing. It was more because of like my mental health.
Was there an age you didn't think you might quite see at some point?
20. Like when I was younger, I really like when I was like I think there was a point 15, 16, I was just like I didn't completely know like I was still getting on like that social media and music type vibe. So I was like, that's not stable. Like I was hearing so many things from so many different people, and I just didn't know what my future was gonna look like, and I was really depressed back then, and so there was that point where I was like, I don't know if I even want to do this anymore. So
What got you to keep going?
music, just really focus. Like I heard a lot of talk in my ear that was like, this might not work out, this might not work out, different things. There's always uncertainty everywhere, but I really just focused on music. I feel like focus is a big thing. Just focus and put yourself, be passionate about something.
Now, you used the phrase depression.
Mm-hmm.
Was this just a self-assessment, or have you ever been professionally diagnosed with that sort of thing?
It was a self-assessment, but I would say I was just because of how low like I was mentally. I don't need a person with a degree to tell me that I was about to go.
Now, is that a feeling you've overcome at this point, or something that you still battle with?
Every now and then, there's uncertainty all the time. Like that's just how life is. There's never gonna be something that goes perfect or like there's never one path. And so I feel like that uncertainty can make me kind of anxious. But again, the focus on music and focus on my passion really helps me to keep going.
Now, what do you make of the outcome that you are on the other side of that equation? Maybe you didn't think you'd see 20, but you are in fact 20 at this point, which you shared in a previous portion of questions.
I'm proud of myself, and I'm really glad I pushed through that and really saw the light at the end of the tunnel. Not even the end, just the light in the future, because there was a point where I didn't see that. I'm proud.
Knowing what you know now, on the other side of that coin, however, hypothetically speaking here, what would you have said to your younger self back then, if anything?
You got it. Just focus on what you like to do. Focus on what you like to do. Don't let no one else tell you what to do with your life and how you're supposed to be and how things are supposed to be, because ain't nothing supposed to be no type of way in this world, in my opinion. Like there's no one path someone should ever take. So just do you. It sounds corny, but do you.
Now, asked you a variety of questions here in regards to your upbringing. Is there anything else you want to mention about it or question you weren't asked about it people want to know as well?
No, not necessarily. Not necessarily. No.
And you mentioned previously, you've got a biological father, mother. Is there a step parent in your life
Mm-hmm.
as well? What's the current status between you and all these three members of your family at this point?
Status as in like just how cool we are.
Yes.
I'm cool with everybody. I'm cool with everybody. I'm cool with my mom and my stepdad and my biological dad. We're working things out or trying to.